Duck and the Slip Coaches. The station and the old house had just been renovated just in time for the summer holidays and attracted a lot of visitors. But it wasn't just that place. Many other visitors flocked to the beaches, and Duck and Oliver had been busier than they ever been before. Because of the busy timetables, there wasn't time for a turnaround, so they had to do the return run backwards. Bust my buffers. I never seen so many passengers. Well, you're not the only one, said Douglas. Thomas and Edward's lines have also been busier too. Well, I don't mind, said James. There will be more people to admire my shiny red paint. Well, at least you're happy, grumbled Duck. Later that night, Duck decided to stay at the big sheds, so that way he can get an early start for his first run tomorrow. Evening all. Hello, Duck. Nice to see you, said Thomas, who was also staying here for the night. Oh no. I hope he won't say anything about Great Western, grumbled James. Duck likes to talk about the old days when he worked on the Great Western Railway. James thought he was a bit of annoying. You know, days like today reminds me of summers back on the Great Western Railway. We carried so many holiday makers. They used to call it the Sunshine Line. In those days, I used to pull slip coaches. Coaches which could be uncoupled without even stopping. That way, we always ran on time and there were never any delays. Wow, I never heard of those coaches like that before, said Thomas. They're slip coaches. But you had to be careful though. Go too slowly at the station and they bump into the back of you. It took a lot of skill and expert timing. Pah, snorted James. Sounds easy to me, silly old Great Western stories. Duck retorted. There are two ways of doing things, James. The Great Western way or the wrong way. I already know, said James. I'm going back to sleep. Just then, the Fat Controller arrived at the sheds. Tomorrow is going to be our busiest day ever, so I want all of you to wake up early tomorrow morning. We will, sir, they all said as they went to sleep. As the Fat Controller walked away, he was worried. I just don't know how we're going to get everyone to their destinations on time. When James heard what the Fat Controller said, it gave him an idea. Sir, I know what would help deliver all the passengers on time. Really? Said the Fat Controller. Yes, they're called slip coaches. The Fat Controller couldn't believe his ears. Slip coaches? He pouted. Go on, James. And James told the Fat Controller all about the slip coaches and how they help avoid delays. The Fat Controller liked the idea. What a splendid idea, James. James was delighted. His idea has worked. The next morning, Duck woke up to find all the engines had left. Fearing that he was late, he rushed out towards Titmuss Station. When he arrived at Titmuss Station, he was surprised to see some coaches on the platform. Oh my goodness, said Duck. My old slip coaches. What are they doing here? Shush, said Oliver. The Fat Controller's making an announcement. Announcement? Duck said, puzzled. Now, to avoid confusion and delay on this very special day, I have bought some very special coaches from the Heritage Railway. But it wasn't my idea. It was James's. Duck was horrified. What? That's right, sir, said James, backing up onto the coaches. Thanks to me, there will be no delays on Sodor today. He thought it was the best idea any engine could only dream of. The other engines were delighted, chorus of cheers and whistles. But I told James about the slip coaches, exclaimed Duck. It was my idea, said to Oliver and Donald. Well, I can't believe it that James had took your idea, said Donald. Indeed, said Oliver. Make sure you get into the right coach, the ones that's stopping at your station, called James. I'll get you there on time with my brand new slip coaches. I think it's better you better follow him in case he gets into trouble. You're quite right there, Oliver. And with that, Duck followed James just as James left the station. James pulled the train smoothly, and he enjoyed it. Duck was fortunate enough to reach the seaside station first, just in time as James pulled in. Prepare to uncouple the rear coach, shouted James. Don't slow down too much at the station, James, or the last coach will bump into you, warned Duck. But James took no notice. As he slowly rolled through the station, the last coach couldn't stop and bumped into the back of the other slip coaches. Luckily, no one was hurt. The slip coaches were not happy, as well as the passengers. The fat controller, who was also on the train, who did not like it as well. "Oh, James, what have you done?" he boomed. "These slip coaches were a terrible idea. But, sir, there's just take a bit of getting used to it. That's all," put in James. "Maybe I could help, sir," chopped Duck. The slip coaches were overjoyed to see their old friend. "Hello, Duck." "Hello, slip coaches. Long time no see," called Duck. "Do you mean to say you know these slip coaches, Duck?" asked the fat controller. "Of course." He explained that he used to pull them on the Great Western Railway, and that James had stolen his idea. Suddenly, the fat controller understood. James had only pretended to know about slip coaches. Really, it was all Duck's idea. "Perhaps you would like to pull the slip coaches around Sodor, if that's all right with them, of course." The slip coaches cheered. So Duck took over pulling the slip coaches. And even though it was the busiest day on Sodor had ever seen, thanks to Duck and the slip coaches, everyone reached their destinations on time. And all the passengers agreed. It was a very good railway indeed. That night at the sheds, Duck and the slip coaches were praised for their hard work by everyone, except James. After the fat controller left, the other engines teased him about the delays, and of course causing a bit of a confusion and delay. James pretended to be asleep, ignoring them, knowing this is what he deserved.